The tension in Bohol didn't just snap, it exploded. For 3 days after my narrow escape at the Backland Church ruins, I was confined to barracks. The entire American detachment was on high alert. Word had come down from command that the local revolutionary forces, the insurgentes, were moving through the dense jungles outside Tagbilaran. The peace we had arrived to enforce was an illusion. The Spanish Empire was dead, the Americans were trying to take its place, and the Filipinos were ready to burn it all down to be free. They're organizing, Dwight, Corporal Miller said, cleaning his Springfield rifle by the lantern light. The metal clicked sharply in the quiet room. The locals call them the Pulahanes. They aren't just fighting with old Spanish muskets anymore. They have bolos, they have terrain advantage, and they have rage. If they hit the town, it's going to be a bloodbath. And what about the Spanish? I asked, my chest tightening as I thought of the governor's mansion. The alcalde mayor and his guards, Miller snorted, a bitter sound. They're trapped in the middle just like us. Stubborn bastards refuse to surrender their post to us, and the revolutionaries want their heads for 300 years of colonial rule. If I were them, I'd get on the next boat back to Manila. But Eleanor couldn't get on the boat. She was trapped in the center of the target. The attack came at 3 o'clock in the morning. A sudden deafening explosion shattered the night silence, blowing the wooden shutters off our barracks wall. The sky over the plaza turned a violent, angry orange. Before the sirens could even wail, the air was filled with the terrifying sound of battle cries and the sharp, rhythmic crack of gunfire. Ambush! Turn out! Turn out! The sergeant roared, kicking open the barracks door. I stumbled out into the chaotic, smoke-filled street, my heart hammering against my ribs. The rain was pouring down, turning the dirt roads into a slick, muddy soup. Flares lit up the sky, casting long, monstrous shadows against the stone walls of the town. Through the smoke, I could see the distinct white uniforms of the Spanish guards retreating toward the plaza, completely overwhelmed by the swift, coordinated strike of the Boholano revolutionaries. My unit was ordered to secure the perimeter around the supply depots, but as we marched toward the square, my eyes locked onto the hill. The governor's mansion was on fire. Thick, black smoke was billowing from the grand wooden balconies of the second floor. The heavy stone arches of the ground level were illuminated by the roaring flames inside. Miller, I have to go, I shouted over the din of rifle fire, breaking rank. Dwight, get back here. That's a suicide mission, Miller yelled, reaching out to grab my jacket, but his fingers slipped on the wet fabric. I didn't look back. I sprinted through the mud, dodging stray bullets and retreating soldiers, driven by a single desperate thought. Elena. By the time I reached the mansion's iron gates, the courtyard was a graveyard of broken glass and discarded weapons. The grand wooden doors had been smashed open. Inside, the fire was consuming the beautiful Spanish tapestries and mahogany furniture. I ran up the grand stone staircase, the heat singeing the hair on my arms. Elena, I screamed, my voice cracking from the smoke. Elena, Papa, por favor, levántate, a desperate voice cried out from the end of the long burning hallway. Father, please, get up. I threw my shoulder against a heavy, smoking door at the end of the corridor. The wood splintered, and I burst into the governor's private study. The room was in ruins. The alcalde mayor, a proud man now looking fragile and broken, was pinned beneath a heavy, collapsed wooden beam from the ceiling. His leg was crushed, and blood stained his fine linen shirt. Eleanor was on her knees beside him, her hands covered in soot, frantically trying to lift the burning timber off her father. She looked up as the door broke, her eyes wide with terror, expecting a rebel. When she saw my wet American uniform, a sob of pure relief escaped her lips. Dwight! I dropped my rifle and lunged forward, wedging my shoulder under the heavy beam. Eleanor, help me lift. On 3, 1, 2, 3. With a roar, I strained against the weight, the burning wood searing into my uniform jacket. Eleanor pulled with all her might, and together we managed to shift the beam just enough to drag the alcalde mayor free. The old man groaned, his eyes fluttering open. He looked up at me, the foreign enemy, with a mixture of shock and deep humiliation. Captain Vargas, the alcalde mayor wheezed, coughing violently from the smoke. He betrayed us. He left us to die, joined the retreat to the boats. We don't have time for him, I said sharply, though he couldn't understand me. I looked at Elena. We have to go, now, the roof is coming down. I hoisted the heavy, semi-conscious governor over my shoulder, his blood soaked into my uniform. Elena grabbed her mother's lace shawl from a chair, the only piece of her home she had left, and tightly gripped my free hand. As we reached the top of the staircase, a massive section of the ceiling caved in behind us, sending a wall of sparks and fire into the air. The main exit was blocked. The courtyard below was crawling with chaos. Elena pulled my hand, pointing down a narrow, dark servant staircase that led toward the back gardens. Por aquí, she urged. This way, this way. We stumbled down into the dark, rain-drenched gardens, the cold air hitting our faces like a shock to the system. Behind us, the mansion was a towering inferno, a symbol of the old empire burning to the ground. In front of us lay the pitch-black, unforgiving jungle of Bohol, filled with thousands of men who wanted us dead. We were 3 completely different worlds, a dying Spanish ruler, an American occupier, and a terrified girl, forced together by survival. Elena looked at the burning ruins of her life, then turned her tear-streaked face to me. The language barrier didn't matter anymore. The look in her eyes spoke a universal truth. We had no home to go back to. We were completely on our own.